Hi everyone! Today we are doing something pretty fun. I got a special package that came today. And we're gonna open it together. I ordered this probably like 4 days ago and it came so fast. You probably already know what this is based on the title of the video. And I was gonna say, oh, you should guess what colors I got, but that's probably gonna be in the thumbnail, so. But let's look at it in the flesh. This is kind of fun for me because I kind of forgot what colors I picked. I got 3 different skeins of the Red Heart All-in-One Flower Power. This is similar to the Red Heart All-in-One Granny Square. I never tried that one because at the time I didn't know what to make with a bunch of granny squares. But a new project bag has been calling my name, so I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing with these squares. Anyways, these are so cool. I love the colors I picked. So this one is in Marigold. It's got a very easy pull, center pull start, which is great. These are supposed to make like these cute flower granny squares. I've never made this kind of granny square before, so that'll be really fun to test out. But as you can see, this one has the orange center with the yellow petals and the blue background. And then I also got the bluebell color. This one has the yellow circle with the light blue petals and the dark blue background, and I thought that these two could look nice together. Like if I didn't have enough from one skein to make a single bag, I could kind of blend these two, and I thought that they could look really, really nice together. So very excited about that. And then yeah, once again, we have a very easy center pull, which is great. All right, and then finally, this one's kind of a wild card. This is in the color Dapper Daphne. And you can see it's got the like light purple center with the dark purple petals and the lime green background. And I picked this one honestly because green and purple are my favorite colors and I thought it was cool. But yeah, these are the three color options I got. They all have the nice center pull, and it's funny, there is actually a note on here that says buy enough of the same dye lot to complete project. I don't know if that's something that Red Heart usually has on their labels, but I think that's kind of funny. Okay, so it says it is a weight 4 yarn, and it recommends a 5.5 crochet hook, and it says that one skein is supposed to make 12 squares. Yeah, it says it's got step-by-step instructions in English and French on the back. Yeah, 100% acrylic. Anyways, I am really excited to start with these. Like I said, I've never made this type of granny square before, so I'm interested to see how it goes. I would say that my tension's on the like tighter side, so we'll see how that kind of works up. I might have to go up a hook size or so, depending. I think I'm just gonna start with the 5.5mm hook and then just kind of like see where that gets me. But all right, hi. It is a different day. So let's try these bad boys out. Okay, so we need a 5.5mm hook, check. I have kind of tight tension, so I have a feeling if anything we're going to need to go up a hook size. I'm gonna pull up the instructions on my computer because I like to keep my skein in the package as much as possible. Yarnspirations, Flower Power pattern. A couple patterns called Flower Power. Well, that is confusing. Flower Power yarn. I guess I could watch the YouTube video. Start with your chain with color A. Crochet your first round. It's not giving me the pattern, it's just like, okay, crochet your first round, crochet your second round. Okay, this video was a little bit pointless. Okay, I give up. I'm just going to look at the label. Lame. God, my project bag is such a freaking mess right now. I'm starting with the color Bluebell. Second and third rounds are color 2. Fourth, fifth, and sixth rounds are color 3. It wants me to leave 2 feet, a 2-foot long tail at the end. Leave approximately 24 inches tail of color 3 at end of motif to use for joining. That's kind of crazy though. That is like such a long tail. So 2 feet of, I just feel like that's kind of a lot of wasted yarn. And this is supposed to make a 6-inch square. Okay, first round, chain 3. Let's see, where did my tape measure go? In my lap. Okay. Oh my gosh, interesting. This actually starts with white. It's supposed to start with yellow. So I guess I'll measure from the yellow. It's pretty spot on. Okay. My tension is tight, so I am going to try to go looser than I normally would. This yellow is like slightly muddy from the blue. You can kind of see like the little specks in there. It looks like it bled a little bit. See, this is how much yellow I have left over. I didn't think I was going that tight. Maybe I am. Alright, let's try again. A slip a stitch. 9. I still have this much left. Look at how, I feel like this is quite loose. Like look at how, should I try going up a hook size? I guess I'll try going up a hook size. This is a 6mm. Try again. I feel like I'm making this so loose. Like to the point where I don't like how it looks, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Okay, that might be as good as we can get, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm crocheting very loose. This is how much we have left. I guess I'm just gonna continue on instead of redoing this, and maybe we'll get luckier as we go on, but let's see. Maybe I'll just, you know what, maybe I'll just make my tail a little bit longer. Let's do that. A smidgen longer. It's about 6.5 inches. Alright, we'll do that. Okay, finally got it. Yeah, I have to crochet so loose. I even had to do it one more time after I adjusted the tail. So I definitely am going to have to get used to a looser tension for this. Okay, next step, row 2, let's see. Okay, you gotta keep your tension really loose. It's so crazy because I feel like my double crochets are as tall as my triple crochets usually are. Here's the end of row 2. I can't really check myself because row 3 is also in this light blue color, so I guess we'll just keep going with round 3. Let's see. Okay, so here's round 3 finished. This is my first try, and this is how much light blue yarn I have. So I guess I'm going to pull back. I'll do a petal and a half. Yeah, my tension needs to be like incredibly loose. And I went up a hook size. I mean, I don't hate it, but I was going to use these granny squares to make a bag, and now I kind of feel like I don't want to anymore, because even if I line the bag, you're going to be able to see the lining through how holy it's going to look because my stitches are so loose. But it could be a really cute cardigan, but then I didn't get enough to make a cardigan. I don't know, let me know if you have any ideas of what I should make with these granny squares, because like I said, it's very, very holy. Shoot, I might have to pull back even more. It's very close. Okay, let me try one more time. But yeah, there's definitely like bleeding too, so like in this light blue, in the light blue you can kind of see there's like dark blue and like a little bit of yellow. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but there's definitely some bleeding. Like I said, it doesn't bother me. I think it kind of looks neat, but something to keep in mind. Alright, that seemed to get us exactly where we need to be. So that's good, that's good. I think I'm getting the hang of the tension. But yeah, look how, can you see how holy that is? It's hard to show you like how loose my stitches really are without seeing, like without comparing it to how my tension normally is. I don't know. Anyways, let's continue. Onward, onward. I'm already too tight. I can feel it. I'm already going too tight. 1, 2, 3. Checks out. You know, I feel like this pattern could be written a little bit better. It is a little bit confusing, but I guess it's like not as big of a deal, my tension on these last rounds, because they're all in the dark blue and it wants you to leave such a long tail for sewing that I feel like I can just like wing it a little bit more. But at the same time, I mean, I don't want my tension to be wonky, so I'm still trying to maintain the same tension. Okay, so here's what we're looking like at the end of round 4. I will say I don't love how loose my stitches look. That's maybe just a personal preference, I think. All right, round 5. Okay, I just stopped recording because I'm still on round 5 and I got confused because I redid this one like 2 or 3 times now and I keep coming up short 4 stitches and I can't figure out why, but the pattern says when you're, so right now I'm like working on making the square, right? And when I'm at this shorter spot where I'm doing half double crochet, single crochet, it wants me to do half double crochet, single crochet, skip a stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and then keep going. I'm skipping over 4 stitches, which is exactly how many stitches I'm coming up short. I guess I just won't skip a stitch and I'll just do 2 single crochets in a row. And that should get me where I need to be. It's just so confusing. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong throughout this pattern, so I don't know why my stitches are coming up short. They don't have stitch numbers at the end of the rows either, so it's not like I can like check myself as I'm going. I don't know, this is my first time doing a Yarn Inspirations pattern, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. But anyways, I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do. Hopefully that gets me where I need to be. Okay, so yeah, that got me exactly where I needed to be. I don't know if I did something wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if it was me, but at the same time, I don't know. Okay, so now I'm on my last round. I'm not really a huge fan of how this square is looking. It's just so holy. I think it just will desperately need a good blocking. Oh. I messed up again. Maybe it is just me. I can't read. Okay. That is the end of round 6. It says to leave a 24-inch tail. That's a 24-inch tail. I did my best to keep my tension as loose as I could throughout those last few rounds of the dark blue, but I couldn't really check myself, except for I guess at the end here. 24-inch tail, and I still have quite a bit of blue. Here's the yellow. That's a lot of blue still. Should I measure it? Let's see. Holy moly. 146 inches. That's over 12 feet. That's kind of crazy. That's a lot of blue. I'm sorry, my tension was very loose. And I even went up a hook size. And I even cut off 2 feet of blue. And I still have 12 feet of blue left. That's wild. That's wild. Anyways, this is supposed to make a 6-inch by 6-inch square. It's not blocked, but that's 6 inches by 6 inches, even a little bit more than 6 inches. So my gauge is right. I don't know why I'm left with so much dark blue yarn. The reason that my flabbers are so gassed is because this is basically just like waste yarn. Now what am I supposed to do with this? I can't really do anything with this, so it's a little bit frustrating, but I am going to spend my evening, I'm gonna make a few more and see what kind of experience I have as the skein goes on. There you have it. right? So I was able to make 12 full squares. And each of these squares has quite a long tail, right? It says to leave a 2-foot tail at the end for connecting. So yeah, I was able to make 12 full squares. Count them. 2 marshmallows. And then, funnily enough, I ran out of yarn on my last square, 13th square, which the label does say it only makes 12 squares, but I only had 1 row left. That being said, we have a lot of extra dark blue yarn that I could finish the square with. So, for the record too, I don't know what I did for that first square. I don't know what I did wrong, but I did not have any stitch counting problems for any of the other squares. So clearly I did something wrong, but all of my stitch counts were perfect for the other 12 squares. So yeah, I don't know what I did, but that was a me thing, not the pattern. Clear that up. Anyways, I took notes. The second square, I tried to redo it a few times for the light blue. I ended up having extra, and then I think eventually I just gave up because I felt like my tension was consistent enough and I wasn't able to, I was getting frustrated, so I was like, whatever. So this is what it kind of ended up looking. I ended up doing like the first couple stitches of the dark blue round in light blue, so that's kind of what it looks like, which isn't horrible. Of the 13 squares that I did, 7 I had extra light blue, and 6 of them the color lined up pretty perfectly. So you definitely get the hang of it, and if you're like me and this doesn't bother you that much, I would say that once you get your tension down and the gauge down, it works pretty well. However, we need to address this. This is like a little ridiculous. It doesn't look like that much, right? I could have probably like tied it up a little better, but I did tally up how much extra yarn I had after each square after cutting the 2 feet long tails, which I still think is like a little bit ridiculous, but I get it. I get it. I kept track of all of the extra yarn, this, in inches. So tallying up all of the extra yarn equals 1,577 inches of dark blue yarn, which is 131 feet, which is 43 yards, almost 44, 43.8, 44 yards. These skeins have 417 yards in them, which means 10% of this skein was kind of wasted. Didn't go towards making the granny square. 10%. 10%. I love data. 1 second. How much did I pay for these? I paid $10 for them on the Yarnspiration website, not including shipping. Shipping was another $10, but I got 3 of them. Anyways, $10 for a skein. That means $1 is basically wasted. And I mean, I know it's not wasted. I can, like, you know, I do tapestry, so like I will probably find a use for this yarn, and I need to finish this row. So at least I have extra yarn to finish the row. You do get 13 squares, or I got 13 squares, which is enough to make a bag. Do I want to make a bag with these squares? I don't know, they're so holy. Yes, I could line them, but you're still gonna see the lining like so much. So I don't really know. That being said, I do think like as far as Red Heart goes, it is on like the softer side. I'm going to try out the other skeins. I don't know if I'm going to make the whole skein or not. We'll see. They do work up incredibly fast because you're not doing color changes. Maybe I'll time myself. I think it takes me like maybe 20 minutes. I'm slow, but maybe like 20 minutes per square. And they're fun to make. I am enjoying making them, but I don't know if I'm going to make the entire skein of these other 2. We'll see. Alright, I'm back. So I ended up making 3 each of the Marigold and the Dapper Daphne colorway. I had basically the exact same experience as I did with the first colorway that I did. So for the most part, the color changes were pretty consistent, with the petal color kind of running into the background color. That was the most common issue I had with the color changing. And like I said, my tension is very loose. It's very loose, and I went up a hook size, so that is my experience. But like I said, I don't really mind too much when it bleeds in like that because I feel like you can't tell a ton. But also I had the same issue where at the end of my granny square I cut a 2-foot long tail and had an excess of yarn before the inner color started again. So that was consistent throughout. I had, for the Dapper Daphne second square, I had an extra 90 inches of yarn, and for the third one I had 114 inches. And then for the Marigold squares, the first one I had 131 inches, the second I had 136 inches, and the third I had 103 inches. So relatively similar numbers as the first skein. So now let's get into my final thoughts about the yarn. Some pros are, so once you get the hang of it and you're like me and you don't really care too much about like the petal color bleeding into the background color, the squares do go by pretty quickly, and you don't have any ends to weave in, so that makes them go by even quicker. You obviously have like the center end and the end, and it eliminates 4 tails to weave in, I think, if I did that right. So that definitely saves some time. The squares, I think I was doing them in like 20 minutes, so definitely pretty quick to work up. I don't know if that is quick actually. I think I'm kind of a slow crocheter, but for me that feels quick. And then another pro is that the pattern itself is actually very fun to crochet. I really enjoyed crocheting it. It was fun. It kept my mind like the perfect amount of zoning out and staying focused, if that makes sense. Like it was kind of like the perfect amount of repetition and something new at the same time. So I really enjoyed the pattern itself. It was very fun. And another pro is the colors. The colorways are very pretty to me. I really like, they have a bunch online. I think like probably a third, if not half of them were sold out whenever I placed my order. But the colorways that I did end up getting, I really enjoyed. I think that these two go very well together and they're very cute. That's all the pros I have, unfortunately. The cons now. While the colors are pretty, they do kind of get muddy. So I'm not sure if I have great examples for you offhand, but you can kind of see, like in this green, the purple kind of peeks through. And it's not horrible, it's not too bad, but it is something to keep in mind if you want to get this yarn. The colors do kind of bleed into each other a little bit, but that's kind of like any variegated yarn, you know. But I definitely noticed it throughout when I was working with this yarn, so definitely something to keep in mind. Another con for me is that my stitches have to be so loose, and I am definitely someone who prefers a tighter tension and the look of a tighter tension and the feel of a denser fabric. And I'm a little disappointed because, like I said, I wanted to make a bag out of this yarn, and it's just not what I pictured it to look like with all the holes. And even if I line it, you're going to be able to see the lining through the holes, and I was just a little disappointed in that. And for me, it was quite difficult to remember to keep my tension so loose because it's just not natural for me. Again, that's just like all personal preference, but it's just something I personally did not enjoy. And like, because my tension is so loose and because it's so holy, I can't think of a ton of projects I would use these squares for. I think maybe a cardigan or a blanket could be a good use for these squares, but I'm gonna need a lot more yarn if I wanna make either of those things. So yeah, and then, you know, with a blanket, it's gonna be holy, which again, I personally don't like in my blankets, but it could be a good option for you. And then the biggest con of all, for me, I have to mention, is how much yarn ended up being wasted in the end of your square. Even after cutting off a 2-foot long tail, which seems quite excessive in its own right, you're left with so much excess yarn before the next color switch. So, you know, 10% of a skein may not seem like that much, but it is. That's a lot of yarn, especially if you are using this yarn to make the bigger projects. You're gonna need more and more. That being said, it did make the 12 squares that it said it would, with the 13th running out on the last row, because I have so much of the excess background color, I can complete that, so it will make 13 squares, which is enough for you know, that standard granny square bag. But yeah, in general, it's just a lot of wasted yarn, and for a $10 skein, $1 basically is not usable for the pattern. That just seems a little ridiculous to me. So that was definitely for me the biggest con, was how much yarn ended up basically going to waste because I'm not using it for the granny squares. And luckily, like I mentioned earlier, I do make a lot of tapestry, so I think that I could find a use for this yarn, but it's such small amounts, and I'm gonna have to, ironically enough, have more tails to weave in if I want to use this yarn, which is kind of funny because the whole purpose of this skein is to minimize the amount of tails you're weaving in, but because like these lengths aren't long enough to do a whole lot with, you're creating more tails for yourself to weave in, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah, overall, I'm not sure I recommend this yarn. Like I said, I think that the colorways are cool and I really like the pattern, but with how tedious it is and how much yarn is being wasted and kind of how expensive the skein is, I'm not sure I would recommend it. Definitely let me know your opinions if you've tried this yarn, because I would really love to hear it. I'm very interested in what other people are saying about this yarn. Yeah, that's about all I have for this video. So if you want, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, yada yada, at Viney_maple, which is the same way it is here. Again, let me know your thoughts on this yarn, if you've tried it, if you want to try it, if you're like, don't want to try it, if you think it's gimmicky. Yeah, let me know. And anyways, I will see you in my next one. Bye!